Welcome to the Too Bad Eugene Podcast. Let's talk Too Bad Eugene.
Welcome to the first episode of season 2 of the Too Bad Eugene Podcast. That's what I think we're going to call it. What do you guys think? Season 2.
Yeah, that's fine.
Pod.
Season 1, each of you guys were on it, but a lot of it was me solo. I thought, I think this will be a lot more fun. We got video podcast and we got group podcast. So why don't we go around the horn and introduce ourselves?
Starting with me. Hi, my name is Calvin. This is my second podcast, and I'm just really happy to be here. So,
What do you do in the band?
I play the drums most of the time. I've sang twice, and I think those are our best songs.
Agreed. Yes. Jason, who are you?
Wait, I'm also
Jason Reagan, guitar player. This is my fourth podcast. No,
Sorry, Jason.
in the history of podcasting, this is my third go.
Sam Skelton guitar.
All right. Well, what we want to do this, just like the first season of the Too Bad Eugene podcast, we're going to do song by song episodes. But this one kicking off this new season, I thought, well, we're going to talk about track 1 on the new record Battle Scars. But first, I thought maybe we just briefly talk about where we are as a band since like the last record, like what's been going on for the last year and a half.
Solid call.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
In
So what's been going on for the last year and a half?
I taught Sam's kid how to play the drums.
And he wants more, Calvin. He's missing it.
That's in the life of the band.
Calvin, for ladies and gentlemen at home, if they have children that want to learn the drums, can they call you? Are you for hire as a drum teacher?
Not over Zoom,
No.
so we'd have to do it like in person. And I'm $400 a day, and I do full days.
That's not bad if
that's
I
a
live
value.
in L.A.
So after the last album, we did the world tour. We had Sum 41 and Blink-182 opening for us. That was pretty fun.
Where was I?
I think you are awake.
No, yeah, like I think it's kind of just worth talking about the reason 2 albums came so close together. Partly, we made Distance and awaited the world's, hoisting us up on a pedestal once the world heard the album. And then we were like, well, I guess we should record another album.
Yeah, I remember the day that one of us came and were like, "Hey, I got like 14 tunes. You guys want to hear them?" Okay. And then off we went. That was good. It was a good
The
call.
point being, with 20 years of inactivity as a band, getting back together and, we did some cool shows since the reunion at like the beginning of 2021. We got to play with our friend Slick Shoes. That was Jason's first show with us.
That was super fun.
We got to play with Craig's brother. That was super fun. But, there wasn't really a lot happening. We didn't really know how to get the ball rolling in terms of playing a lot of live shows. We were doing our best, but largely it was just, the period of inactivity coming back to activity was a bit more of a process than I think we anticipated. I started writing songs.
Well, I think what really kind of kicked it off, at least from my part of things, was after Distance came out and we played some stuff, played some shows, and did some of that material. We did that Christmas song.
Yeah.
That was kind of like our first.
That was the first recording with you in the band. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think that gave us a little bit of an idea of how we could do it in this format. And then I feel like that was kind of the spark for the next thing.
Can I say to the listener, the song is Washington Square. It's our cover of the Chris Isaak song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That song also had more energy than anything on Distance. It's super fast, and we're like, whoa, we do this pretty well.
I think that follows the song on Distance Anecdotes a little bit. There's a lot of, maybe it's not anecdotes, there's another one that I feel like is a double-timey, quickie, angry song.
Get Back There.
Yeah, Get Back
Yeah,
There.
yeah.
But it's funny that because it's a happy, jingly song, and it's got a lot of energy.
But that does speak to, I will say, the shows we were playing after Distance came out with a set composed of songs from Distance. I was definitely having the most fun doing the fastest songs from Distance. Stuck was probably my favorite song from Distance to play live. Back to Life. Those were the ones I was like, dude, okay, you know, a lot of my favorite songs on Distance, when we played them live, didn't have the same energy live as they did on record. And that kind of was also spurring me forward. I'm like, I want to make another record full of songs that are meant to be played live. And I think that's what Battle Scars is. It is an album of it is an album of songs that are like, that need to be played live.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff on there, and it's super fun, the ones that we've played so far. And it's exciting to see what happens with the ones we haven't put in
Yeah,
there.
we got some ones we haven't done live yet.
That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, when it comes to playing live, the funnest songs live are the ones that are the easiest to play.
Yeah.
The easiest ones, I don't have to have my eyes on the fretboard so much. I can move around, take my gaze up out into the audience and kind of see what's going on. But then, you know, I guess it could be a balance too, because when you have to have your eyes on the fretboard, you're playing something cool typically. So
Yeah.
I feel like I look forward to the ones, you know, like Fool's Gold, that are simple, easy to play, and I can really jam around on the stage with them.
I wonder if anyone's ever told Strung Out or Propaganda that. It's a lot more fun to play easy songs live, guys. But I don't know. Those guys are hurting. Like, it's super complex stuff. I don't know how they do that live.
Calvin, I think you told me that Propaganda is not into playing live. Was that
Chris
something
Hanna.
I just watched an interview with Chris Hanna, and I can't remember what it is, so you'd have to look this up, listener. But it's him talking to a guy, and the guy asks him like what his favorite part of the process of making music is, and he is like, writing and recording. I hate everything else. And I'm not sure if that's...
It's a good Canadian accent, by the
I'm
way.
paraphrasing, because I don't think he said I hate playing live. Obviously, they're great performers, so I don't think they hate doing that.
Yeah.
Or at least it doesn't show. But yeah, it sounds
Right.
like his favorite thing is recording, and I don't know if we mirror that at all.
I will say for myself, that was true for me up until this iteration of Too Bad Eugene. With Craig's brother, Too Bad Eugene version number 1, Generator, Thrush, you know, to me, it was the songwriting and recording process that I was in it for. Playing live was like, okay, this is the first band I'm like, I like playing live as much as I like recording. Because I kind of feel like we've cracked the code.
Well, it's me inviting all my college friends to come see our shows.
That certainly helps.
That's a little peek behind the curtain, listener.
A little bit.
But we did
Okay,
pretty well
well-
on a little tour thing. We had a lot of people that seemed to stuck around for us, which was cool for the first time. You know?
Yeah.
They were all plants.
I mean, at least comparatively to my earlier experience, I think we're good live compared to other things I've done. Yeah.
Certainly felt good. It was cool.
All right. Well, Sam mentioned "Fool's Gold," and that is the song of this episode. Why don't we pause for a second, take a quick break, and listen to some of "Fool's Gold"?
Ooh.
He's a conspiracy fanatic, just like the prophets were of old. My reticence was automatic until the day that he foretold. But when the fire rains from the heavens,
great song.
Wow.
It sounds so. Every time I hear it, I'm like, wow, it's great.
That thing we just listened to.
You know, it's funny. We had a lot of iterations of that with all the different mixes and all the things that Ulav kind of pieced together for us.
Mixing.
That has a lot of evolution to it.
It did evolve a bit. But let's even talk before we got to that point. Because this song, I want to say, is probably the most jammed on. Like a lot of the songs are kind of cooking on my end. Like I demo them and they kind of evolve. And they sometimes come to the band fully formed. But I feel like this one is one of the 2 or 3 that we played together in the band room. And it took shape a bit more there.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Like during the intro part where I kind of come in with that lead wah effect thing going on. That was something that came out in the band room.
Dude, I love that thing. That's like my favorite part of playing that song.
Yeah.
At the very beginning. Yeah. I will say, demo wise, because I know on like season 1 of distance songs, oftentimes I had lots of different versions of the song in demo form to play. I don't on this one. I think I just made one demo and then gave it to the band and then we jammed on it and it kind of evolved.
Yeah.
That way. I do know, like, especially, the demo version, I think just had a beat kind of the whole time, but we've got all, you have halftime parts. You came, right? As far as I remember, you came up with all the different.
I don't remember how the song goes, so. I know this song like the back of my hand. Yeah, there's a lot of different rhythmic sections to this song. Didn't you originally call it Adam's Gold? Sorry.
How long was that joke in the oven?
Just came to me. Like a halftime beat in the middle of the song with that one. Sorry, I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah, just the way this song developed a bit.
No, I think it illustrates well how, when you do bring in, I don't know, sometimes I look at it as like Adam builds a house. He says, hey, check out this house, and it's fully framed, it's insulated, it's got drywall, it's got siding, it's got a roof and everything. And Jay goes in and he says, I think this wall ought to be knocked down. And Jay brings in different ideas, like we should be playing just a half a chorus here, or he kind of rearranges things more. He looks at
That's
things
more
like,
track 2 on the album.
Okay, but he kind of looks at things from more of a macro level, and I'm kind of more of a micro person. I might be looking at crown molding or something, and I kind of just
wainscoting.
Yes, wainscoting, and I add these little touches here and there, and I feel like that's just kind of our little approach and how we add our color to things.
Though there was one room in the house that Jason's like, we need a little Southwest flavor.
Yes.
On this song, if it has the kind of Wild West thing.
He gave it a saloon, man. He just added a saloon to the house.
I can clearly see a tumbleweed kind of rolling along at one point, and I thought,
my contributions are tunnels underneath the house that go straight to my layer of gold.
Oh wow!
Your Bond villain lair. To explain that last kind of inside joke, the Southwest thing. Toward the end of the song, if you hear a guitar, right when I go, when I ask why God needs a salesman, you hear a guitar go, kind of slides in. That's Jason not just playing it. That was his whole idea there, which I thought was pretty cool.
That was
at one point, we asked Ulav, who mixed the record, to put like a crazy like Leslie Wild West effect on it, and it was a little much. So what we have in the final mix is a slightly toned down version of what was at one point.
I kind of feel like that part of like the mixing process, and when we're adding things during that portion of it, it's really difficult because that specific part for me, I had it in my head the way I heard it, and it was kind of cobbled between 2 or 3 other tunes where I heard a guitar tone and I wanted it to sound like that, but I couldn't tell you how to do that. I don't know what it's called or what, how to piece that together.
Presence.
And so as he was doing, all of that stuff, it was really cool to kind of see kind of how it kind of grew, and then be able to say, well, you like this, we like that. And I mean, part of that mixing thing is so difficult because it's, everybody's kind of got their own flavor of what they want to hear. But super fun.
Yeah. So the two other topics are in my mind to address for the song. One of them is lyrics, which I don't want to like fully dominate everything, but like I wrote the lyrics. But I did want to just sort of say a few things about it. The song as is was like, the song did evolve quite a bit lyrically. Oftentimes I just hear a single phrase in my mind that kind of gets the ball rolling lyrically. And on this song, it started with the line in the chorus that right now is, when that all goes down, you know it ain't love. The first thing I heard in my head was, when you hear that sound, you know. And then I didn't know what was going to come after that. And so the first thing was going to be, okay, when you hear that sound, you know. I didn't know what you knew. And so I threw in, it ain't love.
How funky strong is your fight?
Yes, that was the original lyrics. Michael Jackson stole it, though, so I had to tweak it.
You're going to get a lot of news about that. Michael, breaking, red circle around your head, breaking news, Michael Jackson
I think
stole
the audience knows that, these are non sequiturs coming out of your mouth.
I don't know what you wanted me here for.
Anyway, I didn't know what any of that meant. When you hear what sound, how do you know that something ain't love because of a sound? I really tried to make that line work for like a while. It only changed to when that all goes down pretty late in the process. But yeah, so I started just kind of writing different sort of character profiles almost of different people I had met, or different sorts of people that kind of give you a positive vibe. But when the heat gets turned up, you kind of get like, no, they're not really what you're looking for. And I really didn't want to make all the different types different forms of Christians. I didn't mean it to be a like, here's a bunch of types of fake Christians, because I feel like that's a little narrow. I know that's like on the last record, Andy Snyder, our friend and guy who mixed that one, he criticized one or two of the songs I'd written. He's like, this is kind of inside baseball. You're kind of writing songs that only Christians would relate to. And I was like, I'm not, like Deconversion Story, he felt like was a very kind of specific experience that is not generally shareable by all kinds of people. And I was like, I really considered that. And I wasn't sure I agreed. But on this song in particular, I'm like, no, it's not about, this is not meant to be a song just about kind of hypocritical Christians. It's just about hypocritical people in general. But as I tried to be more and more real with it, and the ones I was writing that were just kind of general, they weren't really landing. It was just a little bit too thin. And what I finally kind of struck on, being the
Mick Jagger of our band. Is that what you're about to say?
No, I was going to say, being the person very stuck in the Christian world that I am, because I teach seminary and teach at a Christian school and stuff. I landed on the reflection in 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul's like, if I, have a faith that can move mountains, and I can, I can do miracles, but I have not love, then I'm a resounding gong. You guys know that passage? 1 Corinthians chapter 13. That is what kind of stuck into my head. I'm like, well, how would you know? How would you know? Like, what is the telltale sign that a person, no matter what other positive qualities they might have, no matter what kinds of kind gestures they give you, they don't have love? How do you know? So that was what kind of ended up guiding the song. So it did end up becoming about 3 different, quite religious types that don't have love. They've got all kinds of, maybe they can kind of predict the future, or they have these powerful demonstrations of prayer. They shake when they pray, or they can preach sermons that swoon thousands of people. But in the end, they don't show up in the moment of need. When that goes down, it ain't love. That was kind of where the song landed lyrically.
It definitely kind of gave me that feeling of like, it's more about being a Christian and actually like following through. You know what I mean?
I didn't really want it to be about being a Christian necessarily. I definitely am describing religious people, but I wanted it just to be a song about being a loving person, whether you're religious or not.
Well, no, I think that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's like that feeling of like that you wear the badge that this is kind of what you do, right?
Yeah.
But that's more important than actually doing it.
Yeah.
So you kind of do these things, like the screaming at people in the foyer, like, okay, all right, here we go.
I did use the pronunciation foyer
Yes,
to make it rhyme.
yes.
But normally I pronounce that word foyer.
Foyer.
What do you guys think? Foyer, foyer.
I go foyer.
I think when we're up in Canada next, we got to be real careful about that one.
Put the A
Foyer.
first.
No,
Hey.
I'm just saying. Isn't that a French word? Am I wrong?
That's probably right. Foyer.
So
Adam, when you write lyrics, do you think about, whose ears they might fall on and how you might want something to hit? Are you, you were mentioning how Andy was critiquing Deconversion Story, and it made you kind of reconsider, but you didn't really agree. And, especially when you're writing on a subject matter that's critiquing, a certain kind of Christian persona that is, typically kind of the talking head, let's say, of a large religious organization.
Yeah.
Are you writing just kind of purely from the heart, or do you see it, are you kind of looking at it from a lens of how your audience is hearing it, how a certain person in the audience is hearing it? I'm just curious, where
Yeah.
it's coming from.
I think of lyric writing as a form of communication. So it's like I'm thinking about what's in my own heart, and I'm thinking about how it's being heard. To me, my first question is not how is this going to be perceived? How is it going to land? My first, and this has kind of become my almost ethic in writing lyrics. I would not say this was true of myself in my 20s as a lyricist, but what I try to take as my, primary objective is to tell the truth, is to write lyrics that ring true in my own heart, whether they would make anybody happy, whether they'd be misconstrued, whether they would, however they might land on people. It starts for me just like, I need to speak honestly, and I need to say something that actually could be taken the wrong way. Like if I'm going to say something that's just simple and easy and obvious, why say it? There's got to be something that feels like it costs me something to say. And it is being honest about some kind of difficult situation.
stick your neck out a little bit. Be
But
willing
on the back side of that, when I feel like maybe I've accomplished that to my own satisfaction, then I am like, okay, let me put myself in different sorts of people's shoes and imagine hearing this. And then what am I thinking? And that might lead me to make a few changes, but only if I felt like I've been dishonest, or if I've said something unnecessarily hurtful, or not hurtful, unnecessarily hurtful. So yeah, it's a good question.
I love the line. Probably my favorite line in the whole thing is, "Fool's gold shines like the real thing. It's in the bite that you can tell."
Yeah, I was
So great.
happy with that
just
line too.
really kind of brings it full circle. It's just enjoyable. Liked that. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. All right, so I have a question because I know I've been dominating. I'm interested stylistically in this song. Do we hear influences in what this song "Fool's Gold" sounds like? Can you imagine another band doing something like this, or what kind of artistic parallels might you find?
You too.
You really think this song sounds like you too?
Totally. I mean, I think more so with what Olav did with it, added some flavor. Then I was like, oh, dude, it's totally a U2 song. No wonder he did this. Out of it.
That's so funny.
Is this not the one with the modern English hits, or not modern English? The Cure, the
No,
Boys Don't Cry.
no, that's Sick.
Oh,
We'll come back to that when we cover Sick.
It's like a sped up version to me of what a U2. If I imagined U2 writing a song at this tempo, this loud, this sounds like that to me.
I could see Bono crooning "Conspiracy Fanatic."
yeah.
I can see that.
I mean, to be honest, what's the song where he's like, oh, they have a song called New York on All That You Can't Leave Behind, where he said,
Right.
religious nuts, political fanatics in New York. I don't think I had that line in mind.
I think, again, the stuff that Olav kind of threw in there, there's an ambiance to it that kind of leads me down that path of what I would hear U2 doing.
I guess I'm just reluctant to let U2 own atmosphere and ambiance, like anything that has echo on it. U2.
No, but it's not just that. I mean, it just, to me, has that feeling of when I hear one of their tunes, like, oh, this sounds like that. And I like it. I love it.
Thank you for adding that at the end. I would imagine a lot of our listeners are like, ugh, U2, they suck.
Dude, I don't know anybody my age that isn't bitter about the Songs of Innocence being automatically downloaded to your phone. And every time someone argues with me about that, I'm like, it's a free album, and you don't have to listen to it. What's your big deal? And they're always like, it just felt forceful. Like, I didn't want that. Whatever.
Didn't they do a bunch too? It wasn't just theirs. Wasn't there a handful of other singles
No, it's just that
from
album.
other people?
No, that was a singular event in the history of music distribution.
Wow. I don't think I ever heard that.
I swear it's like being given a blanket, and you're like, I was already warm. Ugh. That's how it feels to me.
I have thoughts on the U2 thing, but I want to hear Calvin and Sam's, are there any other sort of musical parallels or potential influences you hear?
I haven't really. Nothing's, struck me as far as like, oh, this totally reminds me of something like this. It hasn't really struck me with anything yet.
In most of the punk space, I'm like, I can't imagine Bad Religion or The Descendants or, I can't imagine most of the punk bands.
I think my little doop-bot is a little Social Distortion-y. Not so much with the guitar. I think if the guitars were more swung, it would feel like a Social Distortion song. But I think if you were to have Mike Ness sing on this song, it wouldn't sound super out of place.
I remember so part of why I think maybe Jason thinks you too is I know when I was first introducing the song, I was aware that part of the chord progression is somewhat reminiscent of Where the Streets Have No Name from U2. And I was kind of happy about that. But to me, I'm like, yeah, I kind of took a U2-ish chord progression, but I buried it under so much punk rock that it's unrecognizable. But Jason was like, no, it totally sounds like U2. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And so I was trying to argue with that and be like, no, to me, I tried to think of punk or, punk rock bands I can kind of hear, but it's mostly bands of the last 20 years, which to me still feel like young, newer bands. So the Gaslight Anthem. I was just listening to Banner Pilot 2 weeks ago, who I haven't spent a lot of time listening. But when I was listening to them, I'm like, yeah, this kind of sounds like the sort of band that might do something like Fool's Gold. The Loved Ones kind of have a vibe like that, where there is... Their recordings aren't super atmospheric, but the chord progressions tend to be those sorts of 1/4, movements where it's kind of a folksy chord progression in a heartfelt melody.
That feels like, when I listen to those guys, that kind of group that you mentioned, to me that lends down, because I think aren't they East Coast, Jersey kind of a thing? To me, it leads down that Springsteen path, where this doesn't to me at all.
Really?
It doesn't. And you know what? I think, I don't know if the listeners know this, but you're such a fan of U2. I think it's just in you. You know what I mean? And it comes through. And I think it comes through more than you realize.
Yeah, that might be right.
But I also think, Jay, you know Dad better than anybody. You know Dad's musical songwriting sensibilities better than anybody else. So you're, at least in this vein, maybe fishing for the like, you went to the U2 place again, Adam. And
Definitely. That's
You know how
definitely
much
part
I
of
love
it.
you too.
That's definitely part of it.
Yes.
I'm not. I probably know an album's worth of assorted U2 songs, and so if Dad whips out any like, you're my dad, by the way, if anybody didn't know that. If you whip out any specific U2 song references that are in the realm that I know, I would point it out. But if you're pulling from stuff that's like, what's that zoo? One Zooropa. If you were pulling something, I would be like, I didn't even know you were referencing that. That's how I would react if it was a U2 song I didn't know. I know there's Where the Streets Have No Name, though. I don't really get that sense on the song. I think you did bury it successfully.
Thank you. I'll say lyrically, I was aiming at like a Springsteen, Dylan, Tom Petty, Bon Jovi. Like it's character profiles, and I'm kind of telling a character's story, right? That's something I don't think of as like U2-ish. I do think Springsteen, and I think I was consciously like I haven't listened to a ton of. I mean, I grew up on Bon Jovi. Honestly, it's probably more that East Coast influence in me than Springsteen himself is Bon Jovi. But yeah, I wanted to like tell these people's stories. And I was like, yeah, these are the songwriters that do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
And when you hear that sound, you know you're to blame. you love. Got it. That's Bon Jovi, right?
That is Bon Jovi.
I'm 13, so I don't really know.
Emotionally 13.
Also, you're such a fake Bob Dylan fan. That name.
I'm not a Bob Dylan fan
Oh, man.
almost at all.
I was really drawing on Dylan for this one.
I meant the tradition that, like, because I mean, to me, growing up on Bon Jovi,
How does it feel?
Bon Jovi, I feel like is drawing on
Big brass bed.
Dylan and
Like a complete
Springsteen.
unknown.
all right. Well, do we have any other thoughts on anything else we should talk about with Fool's Gold?
I'd like to say I definitely owe Travis Barker some royalties for that second verse beat. I think any beat that does like interesting drum hits like that, I just if I didn't listen to Enema of the State every day of my 8th grade year, I wouldn't have been able to do that. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's cool to give the guy credit, but he certainly doesn't own.
No, I'm not saying he owns it, but
Yeah.
he definitely owns like I think his credit is like I wouldn't know how to do that if I didn't practice to his songs.
It's funny. I think like the third verse where you do the kind of.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant.
I thought you meant the second verse where it's like.
I don't know about
that. I don't know. That's barely even complicated.
No, I meant the other thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that other thing is super simple, and I can play it really well, and I never make any mistakes on it. And everybody else looks at me, they're like, "Whoa, that's awesome."
The last part was not comedy.
I wasn't sure that this was going to be our first song live too. That was very cool, and it
Yes.
seems to really kind of get us off on the right foot, which is nice.
Yeah, I love it as a set opener. It's what again I was missing from Distance. I'm like I love all these songs, and I think Talking Head is a good album opener. We've tried it as a set opener, and it's good, but I'm like, it was partly in my mind. I was like, I'm intentionally trying to write a song that's going to open the album and that could open a set, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
We all have fun playing non grata, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you've undersold how fun it is to play Distance a little bit with not mentioning that song, because that is one of my favorite songs to play live.
I love Non Grata, but it's certainly not a set opener.
That's not what I'm talking about. I think in broad strokes you've said, like, I want to make an album that feels fun to play live. And there are definitely moments on Distance that are great to play live. I think Non Grata and the song Distance are honestly two of them.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you. I mean, I don't mean to overstate, the idea that nothing on Distance is fun to play live. It's just, putting our live sets together from the first two albums and then the Distance stuff when Distance was new. yeah, it like some of the stuff was great. Yeah, no, I love Non Grata live. I love playing Deconversion Story live. I love Back to Life live. I love Stuck live. But I still felt like, yeah, there was room to grow in the kinds of things, the kinds of energy I wanted in our live set, and that was kind of what spurred some of the writing for Battle Scars. But certainly for Fool's Gold, like with a set opener, I wanted the kind of, in my mind, the first song on Foo Fighters, "In Your Honor." What is that song called?
In Your Honor.
Is that what it is?
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
In
not
your
called
honor, I will die
Yeah.
tonight.
Starts with all those octaves, right?
I don't think it's... Check.
What? Oh, in my head, that was the gold standard of like an album opener that would be a set opener. Our friend Russ Skelton, saw them live and said they opened with that. And I was like, Jason, did you go to that too?
I don't think I went to that one, but I've seen them a couple times.
Have they opened with that song when you've seen them?
That sounds right. And because it's always something huge, and that thing just builds like this constant build.
Yes.
Build,
Which
build,
Fool's
build,
Gold
build.
doesn't quite build like that. But in my head, like that wasn't what it was about it. I was just like, for its own reasons, I almost just couldn't imagine a better song to open a live set. And so I was just like, well, I want to do something like that. A song that opens an album with a sense of intentionality that would be good as a live set opener.
That song has, not to dwell too much, my favorite of all time, like silence, the whole band clenches, and then they just come back with Dave going, is the greatest.
That fake out ending.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever...
Yes.
There's something about how you can sort of prepare everybody with that first one. Just kind of, okay, let's settle in for what we've got for you. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfect example of that. And I think with what we do with Fool's Gold, just kind of how we start it and kind of get everybody's attention. It's a hard thing to do, right? To go up there and just be like, hey, here we are, right? Like, we've kind of come up with something fun that just kind of gets, I think, again, prepares everybody for kind of what's to come.
Sets the table.
And not only like does it prepare the audience, but I think it prepares us too.
Oh, yeah.
As musicians playing it, like, wow, this is, I'm having a great time. Let's get to the next one, So, again, I was surprised and I wasn't surprised. But normally for me, using a song that's like first thing on your CD can be a little bit sketchy just because that's what everybody's going to hear first. And are we just going to give them do we give them something different?
Right.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, what a great time,
It is a really fun song to play live to start. You're right. It gets me in the zone and in the mood. I'm in the mood when we play that song.
All right.
That's when the shirt comes off.
Sure,
Closing
comes off
sweaters.
halfway through. Yeah.
Yes. Calvin is good at taking his shirt off live.
Can I mention the serendipity of the fact that you were talking about that Foo Fighters song and then that second track we used to cover, No Way Back?
That's track 2 from that
In
record.
Your Honor goes straight into No Way Back.
Oh,
We
yeah.
covered that song 2 or 3 times
look at
live,
that.
and it was a good time.
Yes, we have.
That song's very fun.
Wow.
Anyways, that was kind of a non sequitur.
Yeah, it's sequited. All right. Well, again, any sort of like topics around Fool's Gold we should cover for this first episode?
I guess I'll say one thing. It was very different this time around with Battle Scars as a record versus Distance as a record because we were mixing with Andy a little closer to home, some sessions in person in the mixing room, a little bit
When
more.
he allowed us to be there.
And, working on Battle Scars with Ulov, it was, just hearing what he's sending back and then getting our feedback. I will say, though, what's congruent, Andy would not take notes from, you, Adam, and then me, and then here with Calvin. No, it had to be in one document. It had to be, one page. This is what, we want. And that was the same case with working with Ulov. But when you're not in the room there, you don't get to give direct feedback and then hear, what your idea can sound like right at that moment. And so there was a lot more back and forth, right, with hearing, because when we track guitars, we just track it through our amps. We don't even take a direct signal anymore. So we're not recording like a dry direct guitar tone. There's no option. You were getting what's captured out of the speaker of our amp, which is cranked up and stuffed in a moldy, dirty bathroom. and so Olav was adding some flavor to it. We're describing, I think, we're hearing like some phaser type effect or like this wah type effect, and it would come back, a little bit different. And so it took more, I guess it's a communication issue, right? When you're dealing with someone through Google Documents versus in the room, it takes I think, I felt like I had to be a little bit more like I was really hearing this first guitar part this way, that intro part on Fool's Gold specifically. With that, I think you would call it I always get phaser and flanger effects mixed up. Jason,
Phaser.
I think what'd you say?
It's a phaser, not a flanger.
Yeah. It's very slow, but it's a phaser. Yeah.
Okay, phaser. But when we play it live, I'm pedaling a wah very slowly to like emulate that, because I don't have a phaser pedal.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So anyway, when we first got that song back from Olav, that phaser effect was heavy down the line in the song and not on the intro.
Right.
And so we switched it up, and I think I'm happy with the way it came out. And that's all my feedback right now on Fool's Gold.
It's like a house. You're like an interior decorator.
That's right.
I will say one thing that was... Well, sorry, Jason, were you going to say something?
I just wanted to mention it was it's been a while since I've laid guitar stuff down. I mean, we did the thing with the Christmas tune, but the last time it was more of studio stuff. So the way we kind of pieced it together was kind of interesting, because Calvin did most of his stuff away from us, and I was just curious how was that for Calvin, just kind of being like, well, I'm just going to go do my stuff, and then I'll just wait and see how the guys do.
You mean like I recorded drums to your... Did I record drums to your guys' guitar tracks? No.
I don't know. I think you did that against the demo, didn't you?
There were a couple of cases in which they had recorded guitars first. The Christmas single, we did it that way.
Oh,
Yeah, we did.
And there, like, one or two songs on the record, you had tracked drums, but something had gone wrong. Like, one of the mics was dead. So we had to re-record drums, and by that point, the guitars and bass had been recorded, so you did record to their stuff. But for the most part, no, he was tracking to the demo.
If you're wondering how that experience was, it was fine. I'm so, and maybe it'd be different now because I feel like we've collaborated more than we ever did before. But like, I just felt like, Dad wants me to record drums today. I guess I'll go record drums today, and then I would do it, and I would have a freaking tantrum in the middle because I suck at the recording. Dude, if you've never recorded in a big church room where the like the guys recording for you are, 50 feet away from you, it's so easy to just feel like you're in a bubble of suck.
Let's explain what you just said. Because, yes, our church has...
No more explanation. I get it.
Has a soundboard, a really nice soundboard, where we can get like 10 to 12 tracks of drums coming straight, into our interface on the laptop. So that is where we start the record, with drums, recording over demo tracks I had made. But as he said, Calvin's at the front of this church where the soundboard is in the back. And I'm sitting with our friend Kevin. Kevin is at the soundboard making sure the signal's clean.
We should get him on one of these days.
We should definitely invite Kevin. Yes, good call. Because he'd jump on the Zoom, no problem. But so he makes sure the signal's clean. I'm sitting right next to Kevin making sure the performance is good, and Calvin's hitting all the cues. But we are You said 50 feet. I would imagine it's closer to 50 yards away.
Half a football field? Are you
That's
sure?
right. We're talking about an acre.
You've been in that room. How far is it?
How many furlongs
Yeah.
is it between
many
Calvin
fathoms?
and Kevin?
Fathoms and furlongs. Anyway,
It's definitely. It feels like you're in a really long separation. It's definitely not what I imagine the traditional studio experience of, like, I'm on one side of the glass and you guys are on the other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I know what you're saying. I'll add something real quick to that, because one of the big differences about tracking distance versus tracking battle scars is that I've had Jay with me in the room for battle scars, and I didn't have him in distance.
just me.
I used to face Adam's behind this table, and I used to face Adam and just play. And you're kind of looking down at your fingers at the fretboard, but in my peripherals, which would see Adam, I see him kind of look up off the screen. I'm like, oh, what just happened? And I'm still
Loosening the belt a
playing.
little bit.
I now changed my strategy. I turn so I don't see Adam's little things going on behind the computer screen. And then I got Jay, my wingman, dude. He's going to switch my cord and go into the other amp when it's time to switch amps. He's sharpening up my picks. He's fabricating my forearms with fabricated milk. So
Massaging your shoulders.
massaging, yeah.
That happens.
So I do like having a little support buddy,
There is a lot of little things that we do for each other in that room, like just simple stuff. Or I think what I like the best about it is sometimes you hear something and go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe if you just do this instead.
Knock down that wall.
Because it is a little bit intimidating, I think, in any scenario when you're actually doing it and like, this is going to be what it is forever. Mm-hmm. So you want to do it the best you can. But sometimes you don't really hear all those things when you're just kind of playing along to the demos.
Oh, you
trying
don't.
to get ready.
Yeah, and you don't hear things sometimes in the headphones versus if another guitar guy's just hearing what's coming out in the room, you get some good, useful feedback that way too.
Yeah, what a team.
It's also just a lot more fun.
Yeah,
More
we have
people
a
in the
good time.
room. The wine flows. We have a fun night when we're recording.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to get invited to one of those.
Love to be
You
there.
can come whenever you want, Cal.
Sounds like a good time. I've
No,
never-
that's I think one of the funnest parts is being able to have that kind of interaction, just with everybody that is, you're just kind of all invested in this thing right now, and so you do your best to, like, hey, can you jump in here because I'm dying over here, man. Like I can't, my nerves are going crazy. I just need a break. Why don't you jump in and do yours? And then there's something where you kind of are able to kind of bat that ball back to each other, and in order to get it done. And it's just a fun experience.
Yeah.
I worked at a summer camp last year, and a parent came up to me when we were at the rock wall, and they were like, my son's climbing up, and it's his first time, and he responds really well to encouragement. So if you want to cheer him on, that might be a good idea. And that parent left, and then I was like, "You got it, kid." And he was like, "Shut up! I don't need any encouragement." And I was like, "Why would the parent peddle that to me?" And I'll be honest.
Do you not know your child?
They respond really positively to encouragement, were the exact words I was given. And I'll tell you what, my whole life I've been just like that. I think I shut down if somebody's telling me good job or you can do it. I never did sports because it was always so annoying to me when people would be like, "You got it, man." I'd be like, "You don't know me." And recording drums almost feels like a competitive thing where I'm like, okay, I have to compete with the way I did this earlier when nobody was watching. And even now, nobody's watching. It's just the red light blinking in my eye and Dad and Kevin sitting 100 yards across the room, throwing stuff at me.
That's definitely an interesting dynamic, being in a band with your dad / son. Something I have both experiences of. I've been in bands with my dad. I'm in a band with my son. Yeah.
I don't even mean to bring in the parental. Like, you're not.
You got it, little buddy.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Every time you call me champ, I get a worse take. Put that away. No, I'm just saying, if we're honest about the recording process, I don't know what you guys get up to in your string section, but in the rhythm over here where I'm banging the tubs, it has always felt like, okay, I guess I'll do what I'm doing, and I just get into this it maybe what I'm trying to say, Exile on Main Street style. It'd be kind of fun if there was a big party going on during the recording. If there was like a bunch of girls behind me with solo cups, maybe that'd be fun.
Most of what you just said, I like. Yeah, if
You
we
want guys instead? No. I don't know what I was trying to say. I think all I said was a party.
the party, the idea of us all being in the room together
No,
and
not you
recording.
guys. I mean girls. Sorry.
I hope this is entertaining for the viewer /
No
listener.
one's making it to 49 minutes.
Well, when I attended one of Calvin's recording sessions for Distance, it was pretty boring. There's nothing I could do. There's no wine. It was in a church. What do you want me to do?
And I actually remember I was pretty pissed off at myself.
Yeah, and you weren't in a good mood either.
I mean, that's something I think maybe I'm the only one, because no one's really there with me when I'm doing my own stuff, bass or vocals or stuff. But I do know, which is to say, like the emotions of recording are tricky. And like I've been in that situation with all three of you guys, where it's like you get into a rut and you're getting frustrated with yourself, and like I keep hitting record, but I'm like, is there anything else I can do to try to make this better for you? Whereas with myself, if I get into that funk, I just stop. You know what I mean? No one tries to push me through and like, you can do it. I'm like, nope, I can't. I'm gonna go for a walk.
Right.
But yeah, I feel bad when I'm in this situation with you guys, and I'm like, sorry, we're going again. Here it comes. Try again.
It's very exposing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you got to really, we're really in that place. Like, here it is. And that can add another complete layer to it. And so I think having kind of more people there eases that a little bit, because you can kind of lean on the other guy.
When you can take a break while the other guy does his takes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say, though,
I think we both had moments, though, where, you know, Sam and I have been like, hey, like, you got to help me out here. Like, tell me something funny, or make fun of me, or do something so I can break up this feeling of like, it's so quiet in here and you guys are just looking at me. And I'm
Telling you,
like,
man,
oh,
girls. We need a party. We need some.
you know the other
telling
three of us
you-
are married, Calvin. We can't have this
Solo
conversation with you.
cups.
I'm married to your mom. You don't want to have this conversation with me.
Oh snap! Wait, what?
But what I was going to say, and I think maybe we talked about this on the last season of the podcast. I can't remember when, though. But there is something, you know, for a band in our stage, you know, where we are, you know, growing currently. And I do think about like what happens if we get to a level, you know, when we have the chance to go into some of the recording studios that we would dream of. You know, for me, it's been the Blasting Room, recording with Bill Stevenson, you know, Jason Livermore, any of the guys at the Blasting Room has been a dream for me for years. I would love to do that. But the way we do records now, what is lovely about it is, as much as there is the exposing pressures we're talking about, and you can have those moments of frustration, you push yourself through, because I don't want to have to come back. But I think all of us have had, like all three of you and myself as well, where it wasn't really working. And so we tried to push through. It didn't quite work. So we did come back another day, and we didn't lose a dime. We lost a little bit of our own time. But there's something very freeing about that. Is if you get too far into a funk and you just can't get yourself back out of it on a certain night, you can hang it up. You can come back another night.
There were a number of solos where I was like, please let me take this home right now. And I did, and I'm so glad it worked out that way, because it just allowed me to, kind of let the tension out of my shoulders and play the thing.
Totally.
Every time you would take it home, it's actually an AI generated one on the album. You come back and say, is this good?
Man, I haven't looked into it. Is that a thing? Can you get AI guitar solos? I bet
I'm
that's-
sure you could.
You know what
right?
would
It's got everything,
kill?
doesn't it?
This podcast needs a speculative moment where we all wonder if you can get an AI
Speculative
guitar
fiction.
solo.
Actually, this entire podcast is an AI thing. We're not even here.
I'm sorry, Jay. I'm afraid I can't let you say that.
This is
I'm not
genuine.
Siri.
This is not artificial intelligence. It's genuine unintelligence.
Thanks, Siri.
That's what this show is. All right. I think we've covered just about everything we would want to talk about with Fool's Gold at 54 minutes and 20 seconds.
With the song in there, so it's probably like 50.
Let's spend a while speculating how long
with
it
the
will
AI,
be with the song.
The artificial intelligence is inserted.
All
at the
right.
exact time.
We will be back next episode to talk about Divorce Story. Lots to talk about with that one. Until then, hope you have a great week. Keep listening to Battle Scars.
All right, peace out. Dude, Sam froze. Look at him.
Wait, did you actually
He is
freeze, or you
frozen.
he's just
What-
holding still.
What perfect timing.
He looks like
Oh my god.
he's
he
a
really
Dr.
looks like-
Seuss character.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Very
Good night.
Seussy.
Good night to all the Too Bad Eugene fans.
Bye-bye.
Stop.